lost cat, or welcoming a foster pet into your home. Every bit of kindness counts. Visit petsandpeopletogether.org to learn how to be a helper in your community. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Ready for radio that's challenging, innovative, and encouraging? Tune in, Living for the People.
This is L. Nathan Hare. Join me right here, 91.3 FM WBNY. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 9 a.m. after Amy Goodman's Democracy Now! We'll provide objective analysis regarding current issues. Call 878-5104. It's Living for the People on 91.3 FM WBNY.
WBNY Buffalo.
The views expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of 91.3 FM WBNY, the United Students Government at Buffalo State, or Buffalo State itself. Due to the opinionated nature of these programs, listener discretion is highly advised. If you have any questions or comments about today's program, you can give us a call at 716-878-5104.
To join Mr. Hare on today's Living for the People, dial 878-5104. That's 716-878-5104. Or go to facebook.com/91.3 WBNY.
James Bond, and we just want to shout out to him and hope he's feeling much better. Look forward to talking to him over the course of the next several weeks. This is Living for the People. This is L. Nathan Hare. Welcome you to our broadcast, focused on providing you insight into events shaping our national and regional world and the facts behind those events and policies that are shaping our world for today and for tomorrow. Join us weekly on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. following Amy Goodman's Democracy Now! Program. And of course, you know our program is live, so you can call and you can join our discussion. We really hope that you will. Our number here again is 878-5104. That's 716-878-5104. 716-878-5104. We're here with our in-studio audience of one, Norm MacArthur. How you doing, Norm?
Good morning, Mr. Hare.
All right, he's up and he's ready. He stopped making money for just an hour so he can come and hang out with us. Because he's got this great big scoop. You know, he's running around in front of him, scooping up money out of the world. But he's being polite, and he's joining us for an hour. And, of course, we have our citizen of the 21st century, Willie H. Welcome, Willie.
Welcome, everybody, to Living for the People with L. Nathan Hare.
Willie H. is privileged to be the IT person, the engineer. He knows how to do all of this stuff that we just marvel at and say, thank you.
He's a bad man.
Bad man. I love it. And of course, we're back in the same position today that we have been in and week out for the entire year. Do you all know that we have had 180 mass gun shootings?
Yeah.
Well, there are all shootings are gun shootings.
Yeah.
Mass shootings we have had this year. We've only had 162 or so days in the year.
Right. Wow.
We've had more mass shootings than we've had days.
Yep.
And every single time this happens, and we say, well, what needs to be done? There has to be a solution. We say, well, we need to keep crazy people from having guns. How about that one? How about people that we know are malevolent spirits? You know, the ones that beat up their wives and, you know, kill people on the streets, join gangs. How about we don't give them guns?
And we know those people. Come on.
We know these people.
All of us know, you know.
I mean, they write on themselves. You can tell who they are. They put ink on themselves telling you, hi, I'm crazy. See, look at my arm. I'm crazy.
I'm crazy.
Right? I mean, I'm being facetious, but you get the point. You know, we have mechanisms to help us to identify the most dangerous people to have guns, and we can create rules to keep those people from having access to guns. We could also reduce the number of guns. In 2004, at the end of the legislation for the last assault ban that had been effected in this country in 1994 to 2004, when that assault ban ended, there was something in the area of 40 or 50 million assault rifle type weapons in the hands of people in the public, which I thought was insane. Why in the world do we need 40 million, 50 million people walking around with assault rifles? Wow. These are the rifles that they walked around in Vietnam with to blow up buildings, with machine gun bullets. Why are those things in the hands of citizens? For any reason, you can't use them to hunt. If the bullet actually hit a rabbit, there wouldn't be no rabbit left. It'd just be, I'm sorry, that's vulgar. But I'm hoping that you're getting what I'm saying.
Yes, sir.
So one of the solutions, in addition to identifying people that are mentally imbalanced, identifying people that we know are malicious kinds of people that will hurt people because that's just who they are. They're not mentally insane. They're just people that don't care about other people's reality. They only care about themselves.
Right.
But we also can reduce the number of guns that are out here in the first place. Why did we go from 40 or 50 million people with guns to something in the area of 220 million people? In fact, it might be higher than that. I believe in terms of total numbers of guns, of assault rifles in the hands of people in the public, there's more than 420 million. That number has gone up 9 or 10-fold over the course of the past 20 years.
Mr. Here, I believe there's an agenda out to get guns into people's hands. First of all, it's money, and then also they want us to kill each other.
And it sounds that doesn't make any sense as a policy, assertion that somebody who we call they, in quotes, wants to see us hurt each other. I can't believe that really is the case. Now, it may be the case that there are some insane, depraved, malevolent people that want to do that to other people. That may be true. But it can't be like a public policy orientation that we, whoever we is, want to kill each other.
No, I don't think it's a public policy. I think there's people who love power and control that has it.
I got you.
That's their agenda.
I got you. So what we're really saying is that there are some people who are willing to sacrifice the interest of all of us in order for some of us to have all of the power in our hands.
Exactly. You got it.
So for the some to get all, they put in threat virtually everybody.
Right.
Put all of us in the line of fire.
In their minds, I guess it's basically let's do a bad thing for the good of us or the good of our agenda.
And what I'm saying is that we are the ones who vote for these people. You have got to make a decision in your head, even if you are the most race-oriented person on earth. I believe in the supremacy of white people, even if that's the number one thing, or you're a black person. I believe in the supremacy of, you do know that there are black people who think that black people are the supreme beings on earth.
I know that too. Yeah.
I know y'all don't believe that because you say, well, dang, you all been losing all this time. So how can you think that you're number one? Yeah. Well, most black people know that all people on earth originally came from Africa and all look like African people. All were Ethiopic people, all of them. The word Ethiopia comes from two Greek root words, aethio, which means to scorch, and ops, which means the face. Wow. So Ethiopian meant a scorched face person.
That sounds like me. I'm the scorched.
And if you read your Bible, I know that you all claim you read the Bible, but I think y'all just scan the Bible and your eyes roll over the page, but you don't actually read the words. Because if you read the words, you'd go to the chapter 10 of the book of Genesis, what we refer to as the Table of Nations, and you would see that literally half of all of the people identified by Moses on earth were Hamites. The word Hamites comes from the word Chem, and the word Chem means to be black by definition. That's who the Hamites were. They were black people by definition. So there's lots and lots of black people who think that they're the supreme people in the world. They're the superior people. And everybody else is just whiners that are trying to carp against our supremacy. So there's craziness everywhere. Please believe me with that. There's no ownership, exclusivity on craziness. There's craziness everywhere. What we can do, though, we can't legislate craziness out of existence. People are crazy because they're just crazy. Period. That's just the way it is. But we can legislate guns out of existence. There's no reason why we should have 420 million assault rifles walking around in the hands of citizens. And every time somebody gets mad at somebody else, somebody sneezed on me, a coronavirus struck my neck, whatever it is that's got you troubled, you immediately go to your strap. You go to your gun. Immediately.
Yeah, he was walking in my neighborhood.
Come on. You're going to supermarkets. You're going to movie theaters. You're going to parks. They attack people who are immigrants who were just trying to get on a bus to go to another place where immigrants were being housed. And they ran a car into, I don't know how many people, Willie, I don't know if you read that story. This happened yesterday. I don't know how many people were killed, in that. I think it's like 8 people and maybe 10 or 12 people that were injured. This is a mania that is going on inside of American people. And we've got to get our arms around it. But when you get your arms around something, you have to first figure out what are the things that you can do that you can actually control that will have some influence on the problem. Do those things first. Don't say the world's got to turn into utopia. Everybody's got to have wings and everybody's got to have halos, around their heads. And everybody's got to have like 1.5 children and everybody's got to have a job. Let's not try to make all of these conditions what has to occur in order for us to have a peaceful society. How about we do the things that we already know should be done that will have an effect? So, for example, I self-confess about me all the time. I learned when I was 23 years old that I am too crazy for me to have a gun. You put a gun in my hand, I'll use it. I'm just telling you, if I'm under threat, my wife is under threat, my child is under threat, I'm going to go to whatever is within reach of my hands, and I'm coming at you with everything I got to stop you from hurting my family.
And most people with their family, when you're dealing with children, whether it be a mother or father, if they have a gun and they feel a threat, they're going to do something. They're going to react.
But when I found out that I was not who I thought I was, see, I was raised, with my father was a soldier. My mother died when I was 9. My father was a soldier. I was raised in his sort of militaristic way of visualizing the world.
That's why you like
That's
that.
why I act like That's why I act like
I got it now. You can have that sensitivity. Nurture.
I can really say it's not my fault. It's my father's fault. Okay. But the point I'm making is that I had grown up thinking of myself as this sort of straight, sane, not self-righteous, but right-thinking, kind of person. And then I got put into a situation where one of my crew got in trouble with one of his family members and somebody got hurt and they called on me. And of course, I'm 23 years old. I'm a man of La Mancha. I got
a man of La Mancha.
I got broad shoulders and strong hands. And so I go to the street to help my crew. Something that you should never do. If your crew calls you up at 11:30 at night when you're sitting on your wife's lap, your head is on your wife's lap, you almost sleep, and the phone rings and somebody says, "Hi, I'm your crew. I need to go into the street to go beat up somebody that did something to my brother." Yeah. You should hang up. You should just to put the phone back on the receiver and go back and stay with your wife, because nothing good is going to happen. But I did something bad. I went out there and rolled, right? Mm-hmm. And got into a situation where I'm in the middle of a shootout.
Wow.
Bullets flying all around and whatnot, right? I'm thinking like I'm in Vietnam.
Now, this is a real story,
This
right?
This is a real story, right? And I catch up to one of the guys that were a part of the perpetrators that we had come to fight against. Mm-hmm. And I got my gun, right? I pull it out of the strap and I pull it down and I come at this dude. I'm about to shoot this dude. Luckily for me, my father really has a very intense impression inside. I mean, he's etched inside of me. I don't even think without thinking about my father's image in front of me. And his face came up in front of me as I was there with this weapon. right?
Mhm.
And it was literally him saying, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And my answer was, "I don't know, Daddy. I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm with my crew. Your crew is not the ones who are going to stand with you thick and thin, day in and day out for your entire life.
Right.
I'm the one who's going to stand with you. I'm your crew, not them."
Right.
That's right. That's
And
right.
so I literally stopped what I was doing. Now, you know, I could be a bit malicious, so I still hit this dude kind of hard, you know, because he had to get something from me. I mean, I fought that hard to get to him, right? So
Yeah. You and Norm have some of those stories. I've heard some of Norm's stories too.
No. Sometimes people got to wear what you bring. They got to wear it, right?
No doubt.
You can't go home with it. Right? You brought it to the dance. You got to use it, right? And so, but that was my reality. And then I left. Literally, bullets are flying all around me and whatnot, right? I left. I get back in my car. I go home, and I immediately go to my father's house. Now it's 3:00 in the morning, almost 3:30. So, Dad, I got to talk to you. And I told him what I did.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "So what are you going to do?" I said, "Daddy, I don't know what I'm going to do. I didn't know that this was me. I didn't know I was like this." He said, "Well, now you know.
Right.
So what do you do now you know that you are like this?" I said, "Well, Daddy, I don't think I should have a gun." That's what I told him. He said, "So what are you going to do?" Next morning, well, later that morning, I went out about 8:00 in the morning. I drove all the way to Letchworth State Park.
Mm-hmm.
Drove up the side of a mountain, took my weapons. I had 4 weapons.
Wow.
I broke them up into pieces,
Wow.
and I buried pieces of it on sides of the mountains around there in Letchworth State Park. I did that because I realized, I couldn't give the guns back to the police because they might sell the guns themselves. I don't want to do that. But I knew that I should not be a person with a gun because I'm not saying that nobody should be able to have a gun, because I see a lot of people, particularly police people, that can walk around with a gun and never use it. I have 2 brothers-in-laws who have been police officers for 30, 35 years, have never drawn their gun on anybody in their entire, and they've had a gun on their side every day for 30, 35 years.
Yeah, well, the gun's supposed to be deterrent anyway. That's the main thing,
Right.
the deterrent.
But you have to have a personality that doesn't react to threat by going to your strap. You know, you got to have a personality that reacts to a threat by trying to figure out what to do to solve the threat, not immediately go to the most lethal way, you know, to stop the problem. So I learned something about me. I mean, I think I'm a polite person. You know, I think I'm a reasonably community conscious, you know, type person and whatnot. I've done a lot of stuff, you know, to help people. But I also know that I'm not the kind of person you should put a gun in my hand.
Right.
I think that we should do that kind of a testing of everybody.
Yeah, I agree.
There are some of you that can be identified. You're just like Nate Hare. You should not have a gun, right?
Even I think the training should be not only, you know, intelligence, but it should be where there's a person, if they train them so if they need to use it, they will use it. But most of the time, they have a mindset where it's just a deterrent and they don't use it. It should be a training.
If we were in war, if somebody was attacking the United States and I had to go and join up with the forces and whatnot, of course I got to have a gun. I got to do what we're there to do.
Right.
But in normal circumstances, I don't think that I'm a kind of person that needs to be walking around with a gun in his hand.
Right.
You know, because I might not be as accountable as people ought to be. I'd rather not have that in my possession at all and not put myself at risk of doing something horrible to somebody.
Yeah.
And so the ability to reduce the scale of this problem is in our hands. We can make sure that you're older before you get a gun. 18-year-olds maybe shouldn't have the ability to get a gun. They may have to wait until they're 22 or 25 to be able to get a gun. So you make sure that this person is seasoned enough that they can handle the kind of stressors that may provoke somebody to go grab their gun in the first place. So you need to have that. We need to have real serious conditions on why you would need to have an assault rifle. If you're telling me that you're going to hunt, you can hunt with a 22 gauge, or a 20 caliber, rifle. You don't have to have a 7.62 length, a millimeter or centimeter rather, a bullet. Something that's like almost half the length of a 12-inch ruler. You don't need a bullet like that for you to hunt, and so on, right? So we need to get control, over that. We need to control people's access to the kinds of bullets. I mean, these people are walking around with 1,500 bullets. You can't tell me that you're hunting with 1,500 bullets. You don't need 1,500 bullets to be a huntsman. It's that sort of stuff that it seems to me we should be able to get our arms around. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Hare, first and foremost for me, I'd say being the voice of the people, I would like to say the first thing that I would want to bring to the equation is having assault weapons shouldn't even be at all for just regular.
We should take that off the table.
That should be taken off the table. Now, if you want to protect your home, you can have something within your home to protect your home. And the other aspect that I do believe is you can have your weapon when you're going out and when you're hunting. And that's it. The other thing is your weapon should be for the protection of yourself and your home.
Let me just share with
let me just say one more thing. I believe in preparedness.
Right.
Just in case, say there was in the case of war and someone invaded our land.
You should learn how to fight.
Yeah. You should learn how to fight, but you should be able to have something to protect you if it just went down.
If it occurs,
turf,
right? Right. You want to be able to do it, but just it's to support your point. The Pew Research Center did a study. This was in April of 2021. It's a 2-year-old study. Mm-hmm. Mental health restrictions. 87% of Americans, whether you're Democrat or Republican or independent, 87% of Americans combined support limiting the access to guns for people that have mental health challenges.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Now the young boy, this was at that shot 5 women. I forget what city this was in last week. The young boy, he's like 23 years old. He went to a mental health agency with his mother. So they knew that there was something afoot, with this boy. Right. Okay. He shot 5 people in the mental health center.
Yeah.
Okay. See, so having the ability to keep people who are in that shape away from guns seems like just a no-brainer. Of course you should do that,
no doubt.
right?
Yeah.
Background checks. What do background checks mean? It means that when you see somebody, that you never heard of before, he lived in another country, and now he's learning how to fly airplanes so that he could solo fly airplanes across Pennsylvania and attack the Pentagon. Oh, no, maybe that was the wrong thing I was thinking about. But they could be, right?
9/11.
When you do the background checks, maybe you start figuring out that there are people who have patterns that suggest that they are going to be or are already involved with things that would hurt other Americans.
Yeah.
Right? So you want to stop that from occurring.
A pattern of somebody flying and not wanting to know how to land.
Listen. We never heard of you before. You just showed up, at 23 years old. You got no background, no existence. Somehow you managed to get into the country, and now you're trying to learn how to fly airplanes. No, we're not trying to hear that. You got to spend some more time with us so we can figure out who you really are, right?
Exactly.
All right, guys. Can I be devil's advocate for a minute here?
Okay, don't take away my right to punish this person, though.
All right. No. According to what Norm said, most American agrees, and that's probably why a lot of Americans got guns. My brother was same ideology as Norm. Me, I'm a little different. I feel that everybody should you have a right to have a gun? Sure. I believe, like you believe, I think there should be training. There should be some things put in place so that people who might damage our community or others shouldn't have a gun. I kind of disagree with some of that and what Norm said, because I think that's what most Americans feel, and that's why a lot of Americans have guns, and that's why we get in trouble.
Well, let me just ask, since you will.
Uh-oh, here we go.
No. I'm just asking a question because I think that an individual head of house, and I don't think everybody in the house should be able to protect their home, and that's the only thing that I am really talking about. I think there should be able. I think a person should be able to protect their family.
So if you had a law that says that you can have a gun,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to keep it locked up in your home.
Yes, sir.
That you can't take it outside of your home.
You can't take it out unless you're threatened.
Unless there's some prescribed thing that a society has agreed on.
Yeah.
You're a police person, you're a soldier, you're whatever that
People
gives you
that have to
right,
carry
and you have to carry a gun. But outside of those, prescriptions, you don't carry a gun around in the community.
Right.
If that were the case, and you said, and nobody's going to get an assault rifle at all, unless you're in a particular. I don't know. I can't say that there's no class of person who should have an assault rifle.
Let me ask: what reason would anybody have if they're not in the military to carry an assault weapon?
Norm, I wrestled with this question last night, and I just can't even construct a logical reason why you would need to have an AR-15 walking around, strapped to your side or what. I don't understand
because it's me being ex-military, I know that an assault weapon is utilized to take out a whole bunch of people in a short amount of time.
Knock down the walls of buildings and whatnot, with bullets.
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense.
So we can agree on that. I can agree.
Right, I can agree on that. Yeah.
We can agree that you should not be allowed to walk around on the street with a concealed weapon loaded in church, in school, at the supermarket, at the parade, at the convention center. At any place where Nate Hare is, you should not be allowed to walk around with a concealed weapon.
And let me also add, Mr. Hare, this is something that I've given some thought to. I think in public places where people gather together, there's large crowds, more security should be on hand to be able to take care of that particular incident of mass shootings.
It's easier for you to have incidents when you have lots of people massed in a close area. It's easier for incidents to come up where people get on each other's nerves.
Right.
And if people get on each other's nerves and they got guns, bad things are going to happen.
Right. Now, when you look at it, a lot of people might say, paying security for this. When you look at how much they would pay for extra security or double security, you look at the price paid to somebody being killed.
So I speak to this because I'm pretty sure that most of the people in our audience feel the general thrust of what we're saying. Even the most malicious people realize that you should be able to do background checks. You should be able to have red flag laws. If somebody has shown you that they're really unstable, go ahead.
Now, this is just one thing, and I want to get off. I'm sorry, but I want to say this: what is our most valuable resource as a people?
Us, our lives,
our children. I say,
okay.
So for me, and where these shootings are happening, this is where we should start with the security, and make sure that the security is there, and we limit. The entities.
You can't protect the children unless you keep the guns out of the hands of the adults.
Well, that's true. That's where it starts.
We got to get that nailed down. So on the other side of the break, I want to talk a little bit about the filibuster, because what is happening here is a device was created to protect the interests of the former slave-owning states. The people that were the slave owners in the southern states. A device was created to protect their interests so that they could be confident that we wouldn't have fairness laws that treated African people like they were regular 100% Americans, they could treat African people as they're less than 100% citizens and get away with it using the filibuster as the vehicle to get that done. I want to talk about that on the other side of the break and how this is infecting how we govern ourselves as a public and creates the reality that we live in today, where every single day there's a chance that 1 to 2 mass shootings are going to occur every single day because we can't get in control of ourselves. So people, please stick with us. We look forward to talking on this side of the break here at Living for the People at 91.3 FM WBNY. See you in a minute.
FM WBNY is proud to present Democracy Now! With Amy Goodman.
Welcome to Democracy Now!
Award-winning investigative journalism.
Is the NRA imploding?
Providing relevant analysis that makes you think.
Secret State Department documents, including evidence of U.S. war crimes.
Fact-finding reports you will not hear elsewhere. Democracy Now! Airs Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. on 91.3 FM WBNY Buffalo. Ready for radio that's challenging, innovative, and encouraging? Tune in, Living for the People.
This is L. Nathan Hare. Join me right here, 91.3 FM WBNY. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 9 a.m. after Amy Goodman's Democracy Now! We'll provide objective analysis regarding current issues. Call 878-5104. It's Living for the People on 91.3 FM WBNY. All right, welcome back to Living for the People. This is L. Nathan Hare, your host. We're here with Norma Carter, our in-studio audience of one. And we're here with Willie H., who is our citizen of the 21st century, who actually has 21st century skills.
Oh, yeah.
You know, in the old days, you know, nobody could write. You know, one of the things that's interesting to me, I talked about this on my Saturday program on another station.
Give us your phone number, too, so people could call in for that show.
That's right. For this station or for the other station?
For the other station, Saturday.
The other station, in fact, you should, if you can, listen this Saturday. This will be on WFO, WFO, I think it's 96.5 FM. From 8 o'clock until 11 o'clock, we got a community forum, a radio forum going on. And what we're going to be talking about is how the internet and social media have become twisted in a way that they are actually the breeding ground for this white supremacy movement that we see going on in this country right now.
Wow.
You know, this great replacement theory, you know, nonsense, you know, the ideation that there's a hierarchy of human beings with white people at the top and other people, you know, at some pecking order below whatever the top is. But we want to talk about how the internet and social media have become the tools by which that infection is spreading in our society. But I want to talk about it when I do my segment. My segment will be from 8 to 9, and you can call that program. It's 716-837-1112. That's 716-837-1112. If you call that program on Saturday, you'll be able to plug into this discussion. I really want to talk about not only the white supremacy angle on this thing, but I want to also talk about the degeneration of our cultural norms that are actually being fanned by social media in the ears of African and Hispanic Americans, particularly, maybe even as much to some extent to Asian Americans as well, and Native American people as well.
Hey, Mr. Hare, where can we find out? What station is that on?
So
radio station?
This is WFO, WFO, and it's 96.5 FM on your dial. If you're listening on an AM station, it's 1080 on your AM your AM dial.
So 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Wolfo 96.5.
Right.
Okay.
So this forum is going to be from 8 to 11.
Awesome.
My role on it is going to be from 8 to 9.
Oh, 8 to 9. So,
right.
I'll probably try to call in.
Yeah, and I'm really concerned, not just about, although I am concerned largely about this white supremacy angle, how that's being fed, but I also want us to understand how it's also feeding negative, impressionistic constructs in the minds and ears of African and Hispanic people through the kind of music, the kinds of things they're hearing.
Can I? Yeah, I would love to comment on this. Now, I've got kids and grandkids, and having the interaction with my children, it used to be a lot different. It was more face-to-face conversation and talking. Now, especially as my kids have gotten older and gotten more used to social media, their main thing is the is the internet. I mean,
Cell
just
phone.
being
they don't
media.
learn from books anymore.
It's really
they learn from this medium.
so different. And now it even has passed to my grandchildren. And I told my daughter yesterday, look, I don't want you, whatever you're listening to, I'm hearing cuss words and negativity and things.
Right.
The babies pick that up.
Right.
They pick it up so quickly. They're sponges.
Right.
And I'm just saying there has to be a way to kind of stop or control this particular stuff that's going on with social media.
So, that's where we need to have regulation.
Yeah.
And so this is where I wanted to talk today about this filibuster thing, because when you have something that virtually 90% of the people want to take place, and it doesn't take place, even though legislation that supports the thing that 90% of the people want, that legislation is being put forward and it dies, it never goes anywhere. How can that possibly be in a majoritarian democracy? If we're a democracy, you would think that if the vast majority of the people want to go a certain way, that we would go in that certain way. That would just be the norm, unless somebody was stepping on a fundamental right. See,
one more thing,
Sure.
Mr. Hare. I'd like to say, and this is really kind of different because we're all grown but when you have an adult that's been raised it's almost like they're pushing certain things, and I hate to say this, but towards women. I mean, the women thing has grown and blossomed and just has taken off, and it's the social media aspect of that. It can be negative in many ways. I think it can be positive in many ways, depending on the way you go with it. But man, it's off the chain.
But what you don't want to normalize misogyny, right?
And it's normalized.
Right. I'm not trying to. I'm not hating on any aspect.
I'm
in any way.
setting the hate issue aside.
Okay.
Right. You're trying to grow your children up in the way that they should go.
Yes, sir.
So that when they're old, they don't depart from those ways.
Yeah.
So you don't grow your children up to become malevolent people. You don't grow your children up to become insane people.
Yeah.
You don't grow your children up to become unaccountable people that don't have the ability to drive themselves forward to pursue a goal and achieve it. You don't raise your children up to be like that. You're raising your children up so that your children are going to be able to take a place in the American society.
Yeah.
Get a foot on a rung on the economic ladder that allows them to be able to continue to propel themselves forward, that are going to be able to take responsibility for a family unit, for their household. That's what you're doing with your kids.
Mr. Hare, I've taught my children to first and foremost listen, and then come up with a solution or be able to add something after they listen, and then they can speak about it. But now, the way the media does, they pump stuff into them, and it's almost like what the media says is correct. They listen to the media before they listen to their parents.
Because if they're hearing insanity from you in the media over and over and over again, they come to believe that that's what normal is. So when you start talking to them, it's not like they're not listening to you. It's that they're dismissing some of what you're saying
Right.
because the meeting that they're listening to all the time says that what you're saying is abnormal.
Right.
Purple hair is now normal.
Yeah.
Purple hair. Why are people walking around with purple hair? People writing all over themselves. They write on themselves. You can't even find their skin anymore. They've written so much stuff, on their bodies. How does that become normal?
Right.
I think it's normal and becomes normal through continuous people seeing it and it being around it and it being projected into the mindset.
And so the conundrum here is, if you feel that kind of behavior...
I'm going to say something because it's kind of funny. In the beginning, Mr. Hair, when they first came out with different color hair and different stuff like that, I couldn't stand it. You know what I mean? I want to be honest.
Yep.
But they're gradually making it look a little better as you come along. Some of the women that wear it, including some of the women I know, I see them and I am more. I'll say I'm more accepting of how it looks now. I did. Okay. I wasn't in the beginning.
Now I'll let you slide that into my program.
I'm sorry, Mr.
It made it sound like I agree to what you just said.
I know you might.
Let's be real clear. Nate Hare does not agree with a single word you just said.
Mr. Hare.
I do not agree.
I understand. I
understand that everybody has a right to feel like they want to feel.
Yes, sir.
So I'm down with your rights.
Yeah.
That's all cool. But that's not where I'm at.
Mr. Hare, I understand. I'm
not
just saying
that, right?
I'm a little more accepting of it.
I know because you're younger and you've been socialized into this stuff. And that's my concern. But beyond just that part of my concern is that public policy should be driven through our legislative representatives. We as a people should be able to say to our legislators, who are supposed to be the officers of the society that act on our behalf to meet our needs, our interests as a people. So if I see that 220 lakes in the United States have dried up because of global warming, meaning there's 220 plus communities that had to go someplace else to get fresh water because the lake they used to get fresh water from no longer exists.
Yes, sir.
We've got to do something about that before it gets to be a worse problem.
No doubt.
We shouldn't wait until there's no water left to try to do something about it. We should try to do something about it right now. So that requires legislation. Our legislators have to be the ones to put that legislation on the table and get it passed. The problem here is you have a problem in this society with guns. You have a problem in this society with people who ideate about how to solve their internal conflicts, whatever it is that they feel anxiety about, that they see guns having a relationship with how they solve their anxiety problem.
Solution for them.
And that just cannot be. That has to come off the table.
Yeah.
You know, when we were younger than you guys are, it used to be that you'd see a elderly woman, not even an elderly woman, just a woman crossing Jefferson Avenue, with her buggy or with her cart of, stuff she bought, on Jefferson Avenue. She's trying to cross the street, rickety cart, rickety street. You would see 2 or 3 fellas would run up. I got you, ma'am. I got you. Don't worry about it. I got you. Would walk you across the street.
Yeah.
Where you going? Would walk you to your door at home.
Yeah.
Have a nice day. Come back and meet you on the block and tell you that, yeah, she's cool. She's over at such and such a place. She's all right. That was normal for us, at that time.
Mr. Hare, let me say, I still try to live like that, and I try to do these type of things and treat people in this manner. The problem is our younger children, they don't do it. Their mindset is completely different than ours.
I'm with you on that, but my point is that they don't do it because we have allowed this to occur. We have allowed people to use the public medium, news reports, social media, the internet, all these different forms of communication, the records that people listen to and so on. We've allowed people to assassinate the personality of citizenship that we used to have as Americans, and to replace that personality with this counterculture, personality.
Yeah.
We have allowed that to occur. So my point is that if we're going to solve these problems, you got to solve the problems at their root. The guns are not the problem. It's the instinct inside of us as human beings, as Americans, to use the guns. That's the problem. We have to solve that. That's not going to get solved with legislation. But if we can create legislation that makes fewer guns available and fewer guns accessible to people, and simultaneously work on changing the messaging, changing the what it is that people are hearing in their day-to-day life, we can change how people think and behave in addition to reducing the number of guns in the environment. And I think that will bring this problem down into a more manageable, level. I mean, Switzerland, a landlocked country, they got guns up to yin yang in Switzerland. They're like gun capital.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't see people getting killed by mass shootings in Switzerland. Why? Because they don't think that way. Their culture bends against it. Their culture is, we look out for each other. We fight for each other. We provide for each other. We use our collective resources to meet collective needs. That's what they do in their country. But that's not what gets done here. Here it's whoever can amass enough power to be able to get their way on something, they win.
Right.
And everything is a winner-take-all, kind of game. Norm, you about to say something there?
No, you answered the question. I was about to ask why when you and you answered.
And so the filibuster is something that we need to think about, because you can have, as I indicated, 85-90% of the people in the country all support going in one direction. And you go to the legislators, and you can even get one body of the legislature, the House of Representatives, to vote on a bill to support what the public says they want. Then the bill goes to the Senate, and the vast majority of the people in the Senate, 54 to 35 members of the Senate, vote for the bill. And the bill ends up dying on the floor, getting swept into a dustpan and forgotten in history. Why? Because of the filibuster. They have a rule that has nothing to do with the Constitution. It does not exist in the Constitution at all. It's just a rule, a procedural rule created by the Senate, but it's been there for a long time. And what this rule says is, in order for you to end, let me say it the right way. When you put a bill before the Senate, that bill has to be debated on the floor of the Senate. There was nothing prior to the filibuster. There was nothing that said that the debate had to close based on particular criteria. In other words, there's nothing that closed the debate. The debates could go on forever. So to prevent the debates from going on forever, they created a cloture rule. Cloture means to close. So in this cloture rule, they said that in order for you to stop the debate on a topic or a bill that was before the Senate, you needed to get a 60-vote majority. And the idea was you didn't want to have like a one-person majority stopping people from being able to continue to debate on something that was contentious. You know what I mean? So you didn't want to have a dictatorship of the majority. So they made us, you had to have a supermajority vote in order to end debate on a bill. And that filibuster was rarely used for a long period of time. But when we got to the point of the Civil War, after the end of the Civil War, what happened? You had all of these white legislators that were dislocated from their jobs because the South had seceded from the Union. So these people essentially all quit their jobs. So there were no county clerks. There were no county supervisors. There were no what we call the mayors were gone. The council people were gone. The county legislators were gone because they were all white people and they were all a part of this secessionist, southern states. So now these black people were given citizenship and given the right to vote. So they weren't going to vote for the same plantation people that had been, oppressing them, for hundreds of years. So they started voting for different realities. For example, public schools. How many of you know that there would not be a public school system in this country, the level that we have right now, if it were not for the vision of African people who had been freed from these plantations?
Yeah, you taught us this last week.
Right.
And to be honest, this was something that really, really kind of caught me off guard. Not caught, but it was kind of amazing that, at first they were taking care of the schooling in barnyards and different things, and we didn't have access to any of that when it came down to the reading and that kind of thing.
And they only wanted us to have enough education that they could bark orders at us about, tote that barge, shift that bale. If you get a little drunk, you're going to land in jail. You remember those old songs and whatnot, right? Yeah. I got a lot of Jamaican in me, so there's a lot of that in my makeup. But my point is that as a consequence, essentially the white Democrats, the white Republicans who had control of the Northern government, they went along with a provision in order to get the Southern states to agree to rejoin the Union. They agreed to some procedures that gave the Southern states protection against the civil rights movement that they knew was going to emerge as a result of freeing all of these African people from enslavement. And so they created something called the filibuster. It's not the only thing that they did, but one of the things they did was creating something called the filibuster. And the filibuster was designed so that the northern states couldn't just bum rush the South and say, all of these people are citizens, all of these people have a right to get, commercial loans, all of these people have a right to get mortgages, all these people have a right to live wherever they want to live, all these people have a right to have free public education, all these people have a right to go to whatever school they want to go to. No, we can't do all of that stuff. You'll be turning those black people into white people. We can't do that. That's what the South was about, right? And so to prevent that transformation of this enslaved population into a fully free and functioning American citizen population, to prevent that from occurring, the North agreed to create some procedures to make it difficult for the civil rights of African Americans to be protected. That's what went on. With that same provision, see, remember, whatever you do, remember in the movie The Color Purple, where Kizzy or Lizzie, whatever her name was, the character that was the main character of the movie. Celie,
yeah.
Right? That she says to Danny Glover, his character, she says to him, whatever you do to me is going to come back on you.
Yes, sir.
Whatever you do to me is going to come. Well, think about it. When the South was allowed to get this filibuster provision to protect their interest against the more humanitarian, not that the North was really humanitarian, but they were more humanitarian than the South. But in order to protect their interests, they got this filibuster put in. Now we've reached a day where we need to do something to prevent all of these guns from parading around the United States. 420 million guns, not just guns, 420 million assault rifles physically in the hands of American people today. 3 out of 10 American people own a gun. 3 out of 10. But the 3 out of 10 who own the gun, their rights are being protected against the rights of the 7 out of 10 American people who don't own a gun.
Yeah.
Because of the filibuster. Because when legislation gets to the Senate, even though there's a majority in the Senate who would support that legislation, if you can't close the debate on the bill just sits there and nothing happens to it. And when that session ends, the bill ends, dies, and you'd have to resubmit that bill all over again in the next term of the Senate.
So I just trying to get an understanding. They utilize the filibuster in a way or an attempt to keep the way that they want things to be going in that way.
The way that
progressive.
certain people want to keep things.
Well, yeah,
right?
they want to eliminate us.
Whoever's getting their cash from not only the National Rifle Association, but whoever is the friends and family of the National Rifle Association,
Mm-hmm.
that funnel of cash that is controlled. You have people like Mitch McConnell that want to keep that money going to the hands of the Republican party and their friends and family. Go ahead.
It seems, Mr. Hare, almost like there's always something that the GOP uses or the 1% uses to keep their agenda rolling, and we I'll just say as Democrats, we don't have a way to counteract that. And it's not, it's not, I think that we need to be more strategically together so that we can get some of our agendas going.
Well, we have to do a better job of educating each other.
Mm-hmm.
What the Republicans do is they get into a game of whataboutism. They say, well, when Democrats are in control of cities and this gun violence is taking place in those Democratic cities, you all aren't doing anything about that. And then the Democrats, back up and they say, well, we don't want to take away people's ability to defend themselves in their homes. So that they start getting into this little, nitpicky back and forth. My point is that regardless of how you feel about Democrats versus Republicans,
Mm-hmm.
or independents versus everybody else, regardless of how you feel about all of that stuff, at the end of the day, we are having conditions created in our environment that are not being faced by anybody else on earth. There is no other country, even the Russians, the murderers of these tens of thousands of people in Ukraine, even the Russians do not have anything remotely resembling mass murders shootings taking place.
You got to be kidding me. So the war of Ukraine, our mass shootings out.
Well, we kill more people in the war itself. But if you look at just mass shootings inside of Russia,
mm-hmm.
you might see, one every 30 days or 120 days. But in America, you see 2 a day.
Wow.
Every day.
You know what? Let me just state this, and this is the only solution that I see. I think as a people, I think we have to find a way to mobilize our people, get them together, and get them out to vote, because I think that the vote is the only way that we're going to be able to change things.
But in order to make that work, we have to educate ourselves, because a lot of this is American stupidity.
Yeah.
We just don't understand that the things that we have allowed to occur have essentially attacked us. Think about what I don't know what it takes to get inside of American people's heads. The Republicans under Kevin McCarthy in the House of Representatives put together a bill supposedly to raise the debt ceiling, but within the bill was a requirement that you had to reduce the cost of government by $450 billion every year for the next 10 years. Now, in order to do that, we talked about this on Friday, you'd have to wipe out benefits to senior citizens, to housing programs, right. The home energy and assistance program. Tens of millions of people would be thrown out into the streets as a result of what these Republicans are asking for. But what happens is the media makes it sound like, well, these are just policy choices and, Democrats need to come to the table and negotiate over these policy choices. No, they don't. You don't negotiate for a bill that you negotiated when you bought something that you haven't paid for yet. That's when you negotiate. Now you have to pay for it. You don't get to negotiate over that. You have to pay for it.
Mr. Hare, I'm listening to you, and in that process, it sounds like The Republicans are playing chess and we playing checkers. We gotta find a way to
Well, Republicans they're playing hardball.
Well, yeah,
and we're just playing ball.
But we're not. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're not counteracting.
We
anything.
gotta act like we want it, like we mean it. But you gotta educate people so that people know the reasons why they should respond to things. You got to respond to this gun crisis because people are dying every single day for no reason whatsoever. We have to change the way we allow ourselves to think. We have to say to people, I don't care if you have free speech. I'm not going to endorse you doing records that are rationalizing people murdering each other, people killing each other, people exploiting each other. I'm not going to allow you to take our public money and use our public money to endorse that sort of thing. We've got to educate ourselves, turn ourselves into better people if we're going to get this thing under control.
Man, definitely agree.
Thank you, folks. We've got a lot that's on our plate, for this week. We look forward to talking to you all on Wednesday here at Living for the People at 91.3 FM WBNY. We'll see you all then.